So hello everyone, today I talk about this book, the Silmans Complete Endgame Course. Author of the book, Jeremy Silman. Jeremy hasn't only won the American Open, the US Open and the National Open, and he's not only a very strong international master, but he's also a very well-known coach and author. One of the things you need to know about Jeremy is that he was the coach of the US junior chess team. And apparently, it's here on the back of the book, I didn't know that, but he has also worked as a consultant in the creation of the chess scene in the movie Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Basically has a lot of experience out of his coaching, and he puts all of his knowledge and his experience as a teacher in these books. Let's now have a look at the actual book. Link in the description down below if you want to buy this book. You can find a link in the description down below to Amazon. So first of all, what do I think about this book? And I'll tell you a little story. So I got this book. This was one of the first books I got. So I finished it 2 years ago. As a kid, I pretty much went through this book almost completely. I read a lot actually, a lot of different parts. And I very much enjoyed it because, and this is the first thing I'm gonna say about this book, his writing style is very, very, very good. He uses how to describe it, colorful words. He has a very rich vocabulary. He describes everything very nicely. It's not only very instructive, so I think the book content-wise is great, very good, but it's also just very entertaining. Very much a pleasure to go through it all. Okay, so let's first go over everything that is actually in the book. This book is divided by rating. The first parts are for beginners, and then when you go up, it's more for intermediate players. And then the last part, or the next to last part, chapter 8, should be for masters, but I think for masters it's gonna be too easy. Because I was pretty easily, I'm gonna say, able to just go through it all without much problems, in contrast to the Dvoretsky one, because that one is really hard. That's not for pleasure, that's really if you want to study hard on your chess. The book is divided into 9 different chapters. It goes up and up and up per 200 rating points. And then the very last part are the endgames for pure pleasure, which I think is very nice, with all the most beautiful endgames in there. This book is very much for intermediate/beginner players. So if you're an absolute beginner, you can't play chess at all, you don't know anything about chess, maybe you just looked up how the pieces move and everything on Wikipedia, great, you can read this book, because he literally starts at 0, right? He just goes over, first of all, he goes over queen and queen versus king mates, which is the most basic mate ever. It goes up queen and rook, rook and rook, and then mating with a queen and a king, and then mating with a rook and a king, a little bit like I did in my endgame series. He covers a lot of things which are also not that theoretical, the most important theoretical things he discusses, right? He goes over all the basic checkmates. Not only that, he goes over the king and pawn endgames, theoretical rook endgames I learned from this book. The Lucina position, about the Philidor position, the Vancouver as well. Even a very nice little chapter he wrote on when the Philidor goes wrong, how you can still save your position and everything. I found great. From a theoretical standpoint, I think he did a great job, but not only that, there are also some really more practical things described in this book, especially in the later chapters, Cat and Mouse, in which he basically describes how to win positions which are very equal, but it's very clear that the one side is pressing and the other side is defending, and how to kind of still win these kind of really equal endgames. Also the principle of 2 weaknesses, a very nice topic, I think. Not theoretical at all, and how to coordinate your pieces to be able to attack 2 weaknesses to ultimately be able to win material, for example. Pleasures of a knight, in which he describes when a knight is very strong, the differences between a bishop and a knight, when one piece is better, all these really actually very difficult, complex positional concepts he describes in these very colorful sentences and everything. So these chapters, which I've now all read, these are non-theoretical endgames. Finally, important, at the end of every part there is a test. So basically what you need to do is you need to practice what you've learned. So you need to do some exercises on the part that you've just seen, which I think is great. The learning in this book is not only passive, it's not only like you just read it and you forget it. You need to actively think about some positions. I think just the chapters are really enjoyable to read, but then you also need to kind of focus at the end of the chapter. The knowledge you've acquired, you need to use to try and solve the puzzles. He usually asks you a question, either like this is made in 1 or 2 or 3, then you find it, question mark, or it's more like of a positional thing he reminds you of, and then try to find how to execute this or that, right? Even these exercises aren't that dry. It's kind of more playful. Let's now talk about the price real quick. It's 31 euros 71 for this book on Amazon, like paperback, like you would get this guy over here, which I think is okay, especially which is so thick as this one. Yeah, it's pretty thick, you can see it. There's a lot to learn in this one, so I would say it's worth it. This one is both very instructional and just very enjoyable. I would buy it again. So I'm thinking like, who should I recommend this book to? But really, unless you're like a master level player, this book is for like everyone, I'd say. So I think we can conclude that this one you should get. you should get the Silmans Complete Endgame Course. By the way, you can also find a link in the description down below if you want to buy the book on Amazon. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.